Section 10 of Chris and the Wonderful Lamp. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Christine Rutger. Chris and the Wonderful Lamp by Albert Stearns. Chris and the genie put their heads together. As soon as the game was over, Chris slipped away and returned to the house without saying a word to anyone, feeling too much ashamed to face the Lincolnvilles, who had gathered around the bench and were engaged in an evidently excited discussion, occasionally casting glances at the late pitcher that evinced anything but a friendly feeling. Bob did not make his appearance until tea-time, when he seated himself at the table with an air of such profound gloom that Chris asked desperately, "What's the matter with you, Bob?" "I guess you know what the matter is," grunted the boy, evading his cousin's eye. "Where have you been since the game?" "Nowhere in particular," was the unsatisfactory response. "See here," interposed Mrs. Green, suddenly throwing off the hostess's robe and assuming the spiked armor of the schoolmarm. "What's the trouble between the two of you boys?" "There isn't any trouble that I know of," said Chris, as Bob did not reply. "But I suppose he's mad about the game." "Yes, I'm mad about the game," flashed Bob. "Was it my fault that the Lincolnvilles didn't win?" demanded Chris. "Yes, it was," returned his cousin, trembling with excitement. "All the fellows say you sold the game." "Let them think so if they want to," said Chris, with a sudden burst of resentment. "Why shouldn't they think so? You were seen talking with the captain of the Dusenberries at the beginning of the game, and some of the fellows suspected you then. And in the 8th inning, when Jim Everett told you that we had thought you meant to throw the game, you winked and said, 'How do you know if you were not right?'" At this revelation of the genie's duplicity, Chris felt that he could bear no more, and he began heatedly, "Bob Green, you should have known better. It wasn't me, it was—" "That will do," interrupted Mrs. Green majestically. "We will not have a scene here, if you please. You can settle this matter after supper." "Yes, adjust your differences at some more suitable time and place," chirped Mr. Green with the air of an elderly and experienced canary, and he glanced at his wife in expectation of a smile of approval, which he did not receive. The boys subsided, and Mrs. Storms remarked that she had known how it would be from the first, and that it was always so. Very little more was said during the meal. Chris had ample time for reflection, and he determined that he would not yet confess the truth. He could, if he wished, produce the genie as a witness in his defense, but he would not. The first grand exhibition of his marvelous powers should be made in South Dusenberry. In the meantime, let the Lincolnville boys think what they pleased. They would be forced to change their opinions soon. "If you didn't do it, Chris," said Bob as they walked out to the barn after tea, "you ought to put yourself right with the boys." "I shall," was the reply. "You may be sure of that, but I shall take my own time." "If you have anything to say," advised Bob, "you'd better say it at once." "I'm not ready yet," snapped Chris. "All right, you know your own business best," said Bob, much offended. "But if I were in the box as you are, I'd get out of it as soon as I could." And he walked away in high dudgeon at the manner in which his well-meant advice had been received, leaving Chris standing alone in the barn. "He'll sing a different tune when he learns the truth," mused Chris with a short laugh. "And I'll have that Lincolnville 9 at my feet, begging my pardon." With this agreeable picture in his mind, he strolled back to the house. The dining-room window was open, and as he neared it, he heard Mrs. Green's shrill voice exclaim, "Why didn't you give me this letter before, Henry?" "I forgot it," pleaded her husband in an apologetic tone. "Why, went on the lady excitedly. "Maria says the boy is out of his head. It isn't safe to have Robert associate with him." The letter that Chris's mother had promised to write had arrived, and had told the story of his supposed mental infirmity. As the boy entered the room, Mrs. Storm squeaked, "Dear me!" gathered up her knitting, and fled to her room, while Mr. Green said, "Well, Chris, my lad, how are we now?" with an assumed air of bluffness, so unlike his usual manner that it seemed positively weird. Mrs. Green only was equal to the occasion. "Christopher," she said, "you will tonight occupy Robert's room alone. Your cousin will sleep on the parlor sofa, and I am sorry to be forced to remind you once more that your visit is somewhat ill-timed, and to be obliged to request that you will return to your home tomorrow. I will write your mother a letter of explanation, which I ask you to hand to her." "All right, Aunt Sabina," was Chris's short reply. "You mustn't feel offended, Christopher," twittered Mr. Green apologetically. "Your aunt has excellent reasons for making this a request." "Oh, I'm not offended," replied the boy. "I shall be glad enough to get back to South Dusenberry. I guess I'll take the 7:40 train." "Very well." Chris spent the next half hour in the parlor, reading a dismal little memoir of one of Mrs. Green's former pupils, who had died young after a course of study that would have proved fatal to an ordinarily robust adult. Then, Bob having failed to reappear, he went upstairs to his room. Having securely fastened the door, he took the lamp from his valise and gave it the usual rub. Instantly, Pulsifer Jukes appeared, seated in the old chintz-covered rocking-chair by the south window. His face was buried in his hands, and as Chris laid the lamp upon the table he began to moan and sob in the most dismal manner. "What's the matter with you?" asked the boy sharply. "Oh, don't talk to me! Don't talk to me!" wailed the genie, violently rocking himself to and fro. "If you haven't any self-respect, any pride, I have. Oh, that game, that game!" "Don't make such a noise," said Chris nervously. "Remember that nobody here knows anything about you. If they hear you taking on in that way, they'll think it's I, and they'll be surer than ever that I'm crazy. They all believe that I am now." "And they're not far out of the way, either, according to my way of thinking," said the genie, leaping up and beginning to pace the floor. "Why, you act as if you were. Now, the way you managed that baseball game was simply outrageous. I was never in my life more disgusted, sir, that is the word I used, than when you announced your intention of finishing the game. Such an insult to me! Oh, it makes me wild to think of it. After working like a cart horse without any hope of personal benefit, solely in your interest, to have you—" "I suppose," interrupted Chris sarcastically, "you were working in my interest when you gave Jim Everett that broad hint that that I meant to throw the game." The genie colored to the roots of his hair. "When, where, who told you I said anything of the sort?" he stammered. "Never mind who told me. You said it, didn't you?" "Oh, I don't know," replied the genie with a nervous giggle. "Maybe I did, just as a joke, you know. Boys will be boys, and there's nothing a boy likes so much as fun. But say," with an abrupt change of tone, "what have you summoned me for this time, anyway?" "Oh, you've just thought to ask, have you?" sneered Chris. "Perhaps you supposed I sent for you to condole with you." "Well, you needn't be so cross," said the genie in a half-offended, half-conciliatory tone. "Just issue your orders, and, notwithstanding the shabby manner in which you have treated me, I think you will find that they will be executed with neatness and dispatch. Don't be bashful now. I'm getting used to your ways and can stand a good deal." "I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I don't know what I want," blurted out Chris desperately. "Your normal condition, I fancy," was the genie's pointed response. If I could only do something to astonish the folks here, went on the wretched owner of the lamp, heedless of his slave's ill-natured comment. "He, he," tittered the genie. "Aren't you satisfied with this afternoon's work? You've certainly managed to create a sensation, and if that's all you want, why—" "That will do," interrupted Chris severely. "We'll change the subject, if you please. I don't care to hear any more talk of that sort." "All right," was the sullen reply. "Say," added the genie, a peculiar light in his eye, "just let me look at that lamp a minute, will you? It seems to me I see a dent on one side." "No, you don't," said Chris, putting the lamp in the valise. "You can't play the same trick on me that you did on Aladdin when he asked for the roc's egg. You won't get your hands on that lamp if I know it." "All right, keep your old lamp if you want to," sniffed the genie. "But speaking of roc's eggs, wouldn't you like one? You have no idea what fun it is to have one in the house. Please ask me to get you one." Chris was not to be caught by such a transparent device as this. "And give you an excuse to walk away with the lamp?" he said. "Oh, no." "You wrong me," began the spirit, putting on an injured look. But Chris cut him short with, "Never mind that. Have you any suggestions to make?" "Suggestions about what?" "Why, how to astonish the natives of Lincolnville." "I could make suggestions by the dozen," answered the genie, "but you'd knock them over as fast as I offered them. It all rests with you. If you want to astonish them, there's the old lamp, and here I am. Issue your orders. That's all I have to say." And the spirit reseated himself in the rocking chair, folded his arms, compressed his lips tightly, and fixed his eyes on the picture over the mantelpiece, a counterfeit presentment of Chris's Aunt Sabina at the age of 10, in which the future instructor of youth appeared as a thin, hollow-eyed child, standing beside a small round table, her left hand desperately clutching a large book, upon her face a look of unspeakable consternation which plainly showed that the photographer had just told her to look pleasant. "When you were Huldah's slave," said Chris after a few moments' reflection, "you told her that you were a whole circus in yourself." "That's what I said, and that's what I am," responded the genie, half sullenly, half complacently. "I wish you could do some tricks for them like those you showed her. I never saw anything to beat the way you walked on that kitchen ceiling." "I'm glad you show some appreciation of my efforts," said the genie. "Your constant fault-finding and dissatisfaction with everything I do have about broken my spirit, I tell you that frankly. Yes, the feat you allude to is rather a neat one, but it's a mere nothing to what I could do." "Oh, I know that," Chris hastened to assure him. "It's very gratifying to hear you say so, I'm sure," said the spirit with a disagreeable curl of the upper lip. "Well, you asked for a suggestion a few minutes ago. Here is one. Take the lamp downstairs, get all the folks into the parlor, and request their attention for a few minutes. Summon me, introduce me, then say, 'Will you kindly give these ladies and gentlemen a trifling exhibition of the powers I know you to possess? I'd like to have you polite to me before company, no matter how you treat me when we are alone. Just do that and leave the rest to me. If I don't make the eyes of those yokels bulge, my name isn't what it is, that's all. Now how does that idea strike you?" And the genie turned his eyes from the picture and fixed them questioningly upon his master's face. "It won't do," replied Chris promptly and decidedly. "Now isn't that always the way?" cried the slave of the lamp distractedly. "Didn't I say so? It won't do. Of course it won't, just because I suggested it. Well, you keep on in the way you're going now a few days longer, young man, and your folks will land you in an asylum, and serve you right." "There's not much danger of that," said Chris. Anyhow, I've made up my mind not to let anyone know that I am the owner of Aladdin's lamp till I get back to South Dusenberry. Then you shall have your own way." "You're always raising my hopes only to dash them down again," grumbled the genie. "I don't know what is the matter with you." Paying no attention to this remark, and not observing that his companion was covertly shaking his fist at him, the boy went on reflectively. "But I should like to have a little fun with these Lincolnville people before I go. Let me see. By jingo, if I'd only thought of that before!" "Oh, you have an idea, have you?" said the spirit with a sneer which he made no attempt to conceal. "That's encouraging." "But it's too late now," sighed Chris. "It's never too late to mend," returned the genie. "What is this great idea, anyhow?" he added curiously. "It won't do any harm to tell me." "It won't do any good either," was the reply. "But if I'd thought of it sooner we could have had a deal of fun. You've heard of Professor Presto, haven't you?" "I don't know that I have," said the genie, scratching his head. "No, I'm sure I haven't. Who is he, and what has he to do with this new scheme of yours?" "He is a great magician," answered Chris, "and some of the tricks he does would astonish even you." "Well, I doubt it," said the spirit with a quiet smile. "It isn't quite so easy to astonish me as you think. Your queer notions and antics have surprised me more than anything that has come within my experience for several thousand years. But when you come to magic, why, I'm right at home." "I knew it!" cried Chris. "I don't doubt that you could beat Presto out of his boots." "So I could if you'd give me a chance. What does he do now?" "Oh, lots of things. I've seen him take out of a hat borrowed from a man in the audience as many things as would fill a barrel. And once he came down from the stage and took a live rabbit from under my coat, and—" A loud peal of sarcastic laughter from the genie interrupted Chris. "Don't make so much noise," said the boy apprehensively. "What are you laughing at?" "At your calling such puerile tricks as those magic," answered his slave. "Do people really pay to see such things?" "Of course they do. Oh, if I had only thought of it sooner, I'd have hired the Lincolnville Town Hall for tonight and had you give an exhibition." "That's a great idea," cried the genie. "Now I begin to have hopes of you. We'll do it." "Oh, it's too late now," said Chris despondently. "The show would have to begin at 8 o'clock, and it's 7:30 now. A performance like that has to be advertised a week or two in advance. No, you couldn't manage it." "I couldn't manage it!" exclaimed the genie. "If I can build a 12-story palace in 1 second, don't you think I could contrive to advertise a show in a country town in half an hour? You leave all that to me." "You really think it can be done?" asked the boy, who had brightened up a good deal. "There cannot be a shadow of a doubt about it," declared the spirit. "Say, Chris, you don't mind my calling you Chris, do you? We'll make it a full dress affair. Nobody not in evening costume shall be admitted. The tickets must be $5, or would you say 10? "I wouldn't say a cent more than a half a dollar. Children half price," answered Chris. "You don't know the people about here. Why, they'd as soon think of cutting their heads off as paying more than 50 cents to see a show. And I don't believe there are 2 men in town who own swallowtail coats. Full dress affair, ha ha! I should say not." "What kind of place is this?" asked the genie disgustedly. "Well," he added with a sigh, "I suppose I shall have to yield to you on that point, then. We'll have a big house anyhow." "I hope so." "I know so. There'll be standing room only, and not much of that. And now I'd better be off. We've wasted too much time in talk already." "Wait a minute," said Chris. "Are you sure you can fix it so that the folks downstairs will go? I want them above all others to see the show." "That'll be all right. replied the genie with a wink. "Leave all that to me." "How many tricks will you perform?" queried the boy. "None at all," was the prompt answer. "What I will do will be the real thing. No tricks or illusions for me. I leave that sort of thing to my imitators." "But you must advertise yourself as an illusionist. Don't forget that." "What for?" asked the genie with wide open eyes. "I don't see any sense in that." "You must do it because I don't want anyone to know you are a genie." "Now, for goodness sake, listen to reason. You'll have to give the performance my way or not at all," interposed Chris firmly. "And remember, nobody must be hurt." "Is this to be an exhibition of magic or a tea party?" inquired the genie with biting sarcasm. "At first I did think I was going to have a little wholesome relaxation, but I might have known better. Hadn't we better give the whole thing up?" "No, we hadn't," returned Chris. "See here," he added, "I don't mind if you play a trick or two on that old woman downstairs, Mrs. Storms, but don't hurt her." "Small favors thankfully received," said the genie, his nose high in the air. "Well, shall I go now?" "Yes." As his slave vanished, Chris unfastened the door and started downstairs. Before he had reached the lower hall, the sound of an immense brass band playing "Hail Columbia" saluted his ears, and he heard little Bob shout, "Oh, father, mother, look! Here comes the biggest torchlight procession you ever saw in your lives. It's going to pass the house." "Well, it takes the genie to rush things," muttered Chris as he entered the sitting room. End of section 10.